One of the big questions many have about Tesla's humanoid bot is how hard or easy is it to build? Some believe that since the bot is less than a tenth of the weight of a car, then the manufacturing ramp should be at least 10 times faster than a vehicle. Elon Musk himself responded saying we should keep in mind that humanoid robots have much higher complexity per unit mass. Having said that, he still thinks a bot will end up costing less than half a car. So does that mean maybe cost to build will be under $25,000? I've got Brian White joining us. He's got his own YouTube channel called FutureAza. We can explore this a little bit further. Welcome, Brian.
Good morning, Herbert. This is a great topic. I am so glad to finally see that Elon has provided more or less official guidance on what it's going to cost and at least a suggestion that it might actually even be sold rather than just leased. Interesting.
All that's very good, right? Obviously, the most important thing is the bot. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, anyways, I think the humanoid bot is going to completely, we were just talking about disruption of the electric vehicle because you've got robotaxi. I'm one of those who think that the bot's much, much more important than just robotaxi. Of course, it's important. These things they all lead together, by the way. It's all still AI. And I'm a believer as well, what Elon's saying is that the cars themselves are robots on wheels. But what is the cost of the bot, right? So some people thinking that it's going to cost $100,000. Certainly there's a cost now, and there's a cost that will happen once you get to scale. So let's take a look at how this all came about. You got Sam Corris of ARK Invest, and he wrote this post. He said, a humanoid robot is less than a tenth the weight of a car. Can the manufacturing ramp be 10 times that of a vehicle? From my understanding from speaking to Dr. Scott Walter, who's a co-founder of two robotics companies, he's broken down the cost of the parts of a bot, and the weight of the bot is, in his mind, 1/30th the weight of a car. So I don't know where Sam came up with 1/10 the weight of a car.
You don't have 400-pound bots lumbering around in your factory?
Yeah, it's going to be less than that. But does that even matter? Seems like the constraint is going to be software capability, not manufacturing capability. His point being that, it doesn't matter. It's true, right? The value of the bot is so high, especially if they lease it, especially if it's got all these skills, if it's replacing the 3 shifts a day instead of 1 shift, the value for the user and the buyer, the customer is so high that it doesn't matter if the cost of the bot is 100 grand, 200 grand. So it's just curious. He wrote this out. And then Elon responded to him. He said, complexity per unit mass is much higher with humanoid robots. Okay. Which is, obviously per unit mass, right? Because there's a lot of empty space in a vehicle. But still, I think it ends up costing less than half of a car. So half of a car, Kristen, K10, she then says, so 25,000 to 30,000 costs for a humanoid robot? Well, first of all, half of a car. So yeah, 25,000 maybe.
Yep.
And then he replied to her saying less overtime. So that sounds like she hit it right with the cost for a humanoid robot today, and then less over time as they scale this. What's your reaction to all this, Brian?
So absolutely on the price, that is a number that people like, I think you and I have discussed in the past, was 25,000 might be the sweet spot. And it would be less over time, in part because manufacturing efficiency will increase with scale, and in part because there will be competition. It will be everywhere. There's a lot of room for robotics players to succeed in this nearly infinite market right now, which is why your company's been consulting with so many of these emerging leaders. So that's a smart move right there. Yeah, it's going to be less than a tenth of the weight because 400 pounds would be too much, and 500 pounds, that's too much. And in terms of complexity per mass, the tires on your Model 3 will weigh more than the Optimus bot. If you were to stack the wheels and tires together, those are very simple, heavy parts. And if you're looking at the complexity for scaling, there is, a large car doesn't take much longer to make than a small car typically. It doesn't scale linearly. And it's like when you're looking at windows for your house, replacement windows, a small window doesn't cost a whole lot less to install than a big window because the amount of labor required to install it is roughly the same, whether it's small or big. And because the in the manufacturing, the only thing that's really gotten appreciably bigger is the glass, and the glass is the cheapest part of it. So when you're trying to find that, and I know a lot about glass lately because I've been trying to get quotes for glass, and my address is still killing me. They see where I live and mistake me for my rich neighbors, and quote me prices that are frankly shocking and indefensible. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. One thing that is going on is we are seeing the March of Nines here, and with FSD appearing to be approaching conclusion, if FSD is solved, those engineers don't get fired; they get reassigned to Optimus. And as Dr. Scott Walter said, forget the March of Nines. We're in the April of Nines now. So that'll be coming next week. He's fun. I love Scott. Yeah, so there's nothing but blue sky on this as far as I'm concerned.
So Brian, you know the factories really well. You've been following them, studying them. You go inside of them. And so, how many parts does Tesla already build today? That is at the same size and the same complexity as what would be needed to build a robot. So for the cars, obviously they are able to build a lot of the car, right? They're very much vertically integrated. They don't do as much as other car makers where they rely on suppliers. But for these
Right.
smaller parts that would be required for the bot, do you think that they already have that skill? It's already part
Well,
of
let's
their
look.
manufacturing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's look at what the parts are. Obviously, the cars, they make the motors. The bots, they'll make the actuators. The chips
But the
will be
actuators are
coming.
very small, right? They're tiny.
Right.
Now, my understanding is the motor for an electric vehicle is the size of a shoebox.
Yeah, it's quite big.
Yeah.
But
No, shoebox. It's not as big.
well, it's bigger than it would be on the bot, is what I mean.
Yeah, of course. But my point is that it's actually not that much bigger.
Compared to an engine, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that your factory would be smaller, it wouldn't be so much smaller that it would be shocking. So what have you got? You've got some plastic pieces for covers. Those will be made in house. Because we know they've got plastic shops. You've got some cast aluminum parts for the shins, for the arms, for all that. I believe that those will be made in a gigacasting, not initially because you got to get all the pieces dialed in, but the gigacasting I think will make all the pieces for a bot and just pop them out as one piece like in a model airplane. So this, I believe, would have a higher percentage of in-house products, which gives them a lot more control over the supply chain. If all they need to get in is raw materials, that's a whole lot easier to get than finished parts. And if there is a shipping problem in the wherever, in one place, in one city, in one port, if there's a fire at one supplier, you're not down. You can always get aluminum from someone else. You might pay a little bit more to get an expedited delivery of aluminum from someone else, but you can get it. All that, it's a commodity. It's a fungible market. Aluminum is aluminum. So I think they've got a lot of opportunity there to increase their in-house move and continue getting things that they don't want to make, LEDs and whatnot, from someone else.
Yeah. Scott Walter, who's a two-time robotics company founder, he was saying that the most expensive part of a bot is the actuators because there's so many of them, right? So in a bot is calculated 40, 42 actuators per bot. And an actuator is like that, that little tiny engine that can move. And it's electric, right? You don't want it to be pneumatic. If it's pneumatic actuators, pneumatic powered, then you can't have the bot working cobot alongside a human because it can just hurt a human very easily. But if there's 40 and it costs you $1,000 per, then you're talking $40,000. And so you need to be able to build these devices to be less than, if they can bring up to $200 each, right? Then there are 40 of them. That's how you bring it down from 25,000. So for him to say that it's at $25,000, half the cost of a car, just obviously the car is so expensive to build. It's still very high. It's still quite high, but it's still much lower than what other bot makers have been saying today. So I've spoken to a number of bot makers. One of them told me that, they're selling their bot at $250,000 because it still costs that much. We're talking manual build. This is still very much, the prototype kind of stuff. It's very hard to build, but it's not automated, right? So there's a lot of work to do. Um, so for him to say it will cost less than that, and the question is, does he mean now or does he mean once it's built? But when you see that he then responded to Kristen saying that it's going to be less over time, that makes it sound like to me that it is basically half the cost of the car today, uh, but it'll be less over time once they scale it. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
think we're seeing the prototypes, the onesie twosies they're building today. Who knows? $1 million. The price doesn't matter as long as it's designed for manufacturing. They know what the price will eventually be when they build it on a line. And I think the first generation to come off the first line could be built, can be built with a cost of goods sold under 30,000 for sure, the way Tesla has designed it.
yeah. So, I want to just show some of the bot job openings that Tesla has been hiring for recently. This one here has been something they've been already announced. We've done shows on this already a couple of weeks ago. Basically, the job is for deployment of robots for trial applications. So pilots in various manufacturing environments cover multiple job sites and may require frequent travel. So they're looking for somebody who's going to actually manage the bots in the pilots in the factories, technical program manager for the Tesla bot, multiple job sites. So that's encouraging that they're already hiring for people, preparing for the pilot in the future in the factories. And then very recently, there's 3 new job postings that is very interesting. One of them is a project manager to the deployment and optimization of in-house software tools. So this is a software that they're building to streamline and scale our robotic development and operational processes. A symptoms project manager, so in case that there is any issues identified, documenting, monitoring issues, service or manufacturing, leading to effective communication, repair, diagnostic procedures. And then the big one that everybody's got excited about is they're already hiring a technical writer. A technical writer is going to write the documentation for the manuals, the troubleshooting guides, the FAQs. So this is the jobs that they're offering.
On those 3
Very,
jobs, I would point out that they don't specify it's for Optimus, and Tesla does do a lot of other robotics. So these could be for
it says
things
Tesla
less
bot
sophisticated.
right here,
Well,
Tesla bot.
oh, okay, it does on there. Okay. On the
Hmm.
screenshots, it didn't say Tesla bot. So I apologize. Yes. Got to zoom
Yeah.
out, Brian. Zoom out.
No, it definitely Tesla bot. Writer for Optimus user guides. That's a big deal. And then another one, which is very interesting, is they're hiring for 5G capabilities, and it actually says wireless, right? 5G wireless for new vehicles and Optimus. So I'm
Yeah.
telling you, this is like happening. It's happening.
Yeah. Well, what is Optimus if not a robo taxi without wheels? Give me a
Exactly.
piggyback ride.
And then they're going to
Uh,
create various form factors, including with wheels. They'll have bots with wheels that have different bot animals. Some of the Tesla AI engineers have referred to the term bot animals beyond Optimus. So, these guys are pushing hard, but to hire. So, the cost, it's obviously, Elon, and Elon's all about cost. Reduce the price, eliminate, eliminate, eliminate. And this is where this is one where I'm not sure if the cost matters as much in this case because the value is so high compared to the cost. The business model is so good. Cost is important, but it just means it's volume of production is what simplify it to increase scale of volume production versus reducing cost per se. But anyways, it's nice to hear him
well,
say 25,000 or less over time because that alone, even if it's $25,000, just him saying that, even if that's where it ended up future, it's a
if
killer
that's the
margin.
high watermark, yes. I saw a comment on Reddit yesterday where someone said these will be, you could, early ones for sure, but probably for a long time you could lease them out for 150,000 a year. And the
Yes.
person said that's crazy. That's 4 to 5 times what the factory workers make now. And I'm thinking, right, but they do 4 shifts. and get no benefits. They don't have those added. So they are worth, if they can keep up with that human worker, they're already worth 4 to 5 times as much just on hours alone. Forget utility. So I love comments like that because they're so close to getting it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they need to watch the videos I've done with Cern Basher, who's done spreadsheets mapping this out. And you can, the whole reason why he's done this is that you as a viewer can come in and say, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And then he's giving you multiple, scenarios. If you think they can only do one shift, if you think that they can only move half as fast as a human, this is what will happen. And regardless, the numbers are nutty. So let's say that he's right. You can't charge $120,000, which the numbers show that you could per year per bot. But let's say you can't. Let's say it's just $50,000. Let's say, one shift, one person, one bot, $50,000. Well, $50,000, it costs you $25,000 to build. You are making $25,000 per year for in perpetuity until the bot dies. So let's say 10 years.
25,000 the first year, 50 after that.
You know what I mean?
475,000 in margin
per bot
minus maintenance.
Yeah. So right now you're making $17,000 per car on margin, one-time sale. And it's a massive business. This is like the biggest business. So anyways, the whole point is that these things are, the business model is just crazy, but then it's not just going to be one shift, right? It's going to be 3 shifts. And Digit already showed that their bot worked for 7.5 hours straight. That these bots can do this. And so there's no reason why they can't just keep running, Or
doesn't he need a break? Doesn't he need lunch?
They do. They actually do. So the current analysis today is that the way the bot batteries can only last, basically it's the same as a human today. So if they're given the same breaks as humans are, right, which is a 10-15 minute break for coffee, a 30-minute break for lunch, another 15-minute break for coffee, that Scott Walter had done a whole analysis on this as well, showing exactly how one bot takes the same break as a human, plugs in for 15 minutes, and you can see that the battery falls and then it pops up just enough to be able to do the next 3 hours, and then the 30-minute pop them up higher, and then it's just always able to catch up and continue. That's the worst case scenario, because the other scenarios is, let's say you have 9 bots and they're all working. You just need one extra bot that does a whole replacement. So there's not a need for swapping the bot battery. That's one option. Some are built that way. You just swap the battery, or they come in and they plug themselves, and you have to. Then that means that bot is unusable. But if that's the case, one option you have is for every 9 bots, you have one extra bot, and when one is about to die, he flips in, then the other one goes and charges, then the next one's about to die, that flips in. So it's just,
and if there's any power at their workstation,
right,
then they can run 24 hours for sure. And the beauty of these self-diagnosing, of any of these systems, is they can self-diagnose along the way. So if one knows that it's going to be losing an actuator in its right elbow, it can report it before it happens. But even if it happens,
that's what the software is. They're hiring the software to track these issues as they happen within the bot. And that's the other thing about Tesla, is they have the software skills already, and it's all vertically integrated. And so it's not like they don't, this is a whole brand new division that they've never built before.
Right. Or that they have to go out for bid and get 10 vendors to bid on it and hope that the one they get isn't Volkswagen. And once they've got a unique opportunity among robotics companies in that they know how to manufacture at scale profitably in an emerging industry. And that's going to make them, if everything else was equal, if everybody made the exact same quality of bot, that makes Tesla the winner, because that's an advantage that's very hard to replicate.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that Elon responding, talking about the cost of a bot, he said the complexity of manufacturing is a lot higher per weight. Right. What did he exactly say? Right. Per mass. But it's still going to be half the cost of a car, at least, at a start. And so I think that that's already shocking, because again, I don't like comparing and saying, oh, one bot manufacturer is ahead or behind. They will all succeed if you can survive. If you're a bot manufacturer that has enough money that it can grow and build. It's like people have said, have you not seen what happened to the electric vehicle market? There was an explosion of EV market companies, and then there's an explosion of companies dying. They will all die. Many of them will die. In fact, in the EV market, only two have been able to show profitability. It's not as easy as you think, right? BYD and Tesla. And they think that that's what's going to happen in the bot market. Well, there's so many differences between a robot and a car. Again, the business model is so high. You can make so much profitability here. A car only has one use case, transportation. A bot can have unlimited use cases. So if your humanoid is not being chosen because for some reason there's so many other options out there, which I don't think will happen for 10 years or longer. Whatever you build will be sold, no matter if there's one that's 2 times faster, 2 times cheaper, whatever, it doesn't matter. You'll sell yours. But the margin is so high. And then you can just pick a lane if you want to be. Mine is going to be the construction worker. So I'm going to build it to be stronger. I'm going to have it like, muscles and be able to lift heavy things. You got that. You'll own that niche. So it's not like an EV company. They only have certain segmentations, and once they hit it, and then there's competition, they're in trouble. They try to switch another one, they're in trouble, and then they run out of options. So
when you're replicating human activities, there are a lot more of them that are jobs than it is types of cars that have ever existed. I would point out, I think Volvo had a quarter or two of profitability, but only just, and not really worth mentioning, but there will be someone who watches this and says, wait a minute. So to address that, I did want to say something important about people who do analysis like you, like CERN, like myself. The difference between us and the big dogs is we always show our math. And that's critical for you, the viewer, because you can, like Herbert just said, you can look at it and say, I disagree with this part, agree with this, and I would change this to that. And you can see how we're getting to this bottom line. It's not like someone just says, a lot of the Wall Street analysts will just tell you, here's the conclusion, and I will not show the math, no questions.
Exactly. Go check out the videos I've done with CERN Basher, and we go slide by slide. These are lengthy. We just did one this Sunday on the robotaxi model, and it was like 60, 70 slides. It's
He
like
does
great.
bring a full presentation.
He does. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. That was a fun conversation. Good info coming from Elon directly about the Tesla bot, which is so critical for Tesla. Appreciate you guys. Follow Brian on his YouTube channel, FutureAza. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.